Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be doing something a little different.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going to be taking a look at some Middle Eastern cuisine.
interesting.
You sent in some articles and recipes.
Sounds delicious already.
Yeah, and I've got to say my mouth is watering just looking at this stuff. Looks like you're ready to spice things up in the kitchen.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people, when they think about Middle Eastern food, they think of just like hummus and falafel.
Right.
But there's so much more to discover.
Yeah, so let's unpack this. First up, we have a website here, Shirdell.se. Looks like it's an online store based in Sweden that specializes in Middle Eastern ingredients.
That's cool. I'm always fascinated to see, different ways people are getting access to these really authentic ingredients.
Yeah, and they really emphasize like quality and authenticity. And they offer nationwide delivery across Sweden.
Wow.
But before we get too deep into like the shopping cart situation, I think we need to talk about the heart of Middle Eastern cuisine.
Yeah.
Beans and lentils.
Yeah.
It seems like they're kind of the foundation of a lot of the dishes.
Absolutely. They've played such a vital role in Middle Eastern cooking for centuries, not just as a source of protein and fiber, but also as a symbol of hospitality and community. You think about like those hearty lentil stews that have been simmered for hours, filling homes with this warmth and aroma.
Yeah.
Really represents this tradition of shared meals and nourishment that stretches back generations.
Wow, never thought about it like that. That's pretty amazing. Food can really connect us to history and tradition in ways we don't even realize.
It really can.
So let's get specific here. What kind of beans are we talking about? Shirdell seems to have a pretty good selection.
Oh, they have a treasure trove. First up, we have fava beans.
Okay.
Now, these are hearty. Their texture is really something that can stand up to long cooking times, making them perfect for those rich, flavorful stews that are so popular in the Middle East. Think of a dish like ful madams, a classic Egyptian breakfast where fava beans are simmered overnight with garlic and lemon. The result is this creamy, satisfying meal.
Okay, you're making me hungry. What else?
Next on the list, we have brown lentils. Now, these are a bit milder in flavor and incredibly versatile. High in iron, which makes them a star player in vegetarian diets.
Okay.
And they really hold their shape well during cooking.
So you can throw them in anything.
Pretty much. Perfect for salads, soups, even veggie burgers.
So we've got the hearty fava beans for stews.
Yeah.
The versatile brown lentils that can go pretty much anywhere. What else is in this bean lineup?
Well, of course, we can't forget about chickpeas, the superstars of hummus and falafel.
Of course.
But don't let those classic dishes limit your imagination. Roasted chickpeas make a fantastic crunchy snack. They add this nutty flavor and a protein boost to salads.
Yeah.
And Shirdell even offers pre-cooked chickpeas in jars, which is a lifesaver on busy nights.
Oh, that's a great tip. Pre-cooked beans are definitely a lifesaver in my kitchen, too. Okay, so we've got fava beans, brown lentils, chickpeas. Anything else in this bean bonanza?
One more. White beans.
Okay.
They're like the comfort food of the bean world. Perfect for creamy dips, stews, even mashed as a side dish. They absorb flavors beautifully, making them the perfect blank canvas for herbs and spices.
It's really amazing how each bean brings its own kind of unique personality to the table and how those characteristics have been incorporated into different culinary traditions over the centuries.
It really is. Speaking of ancient traditions, let's move on to two other staples of Middle Eastern cuisine, bulgur and couscous.
All right, let's talk about those grains. Now, I know bulgur is made from cracked wheat, and couscous is... Honestly, I'm not quite sure what couscous is made of. Help me out here.
You're not alone. Couscous definitely causes a bit of confusion.
Right.
It's actually tiny granules of durum wheat that have been steamed and dried. The process was traditionally very labor-intensive.
Really?
Often involved women gathering to prepare large batches together. This created a real sense of community and shared purpose.
Wow, that's fascinating. Adds a whole other level of appreciation for these tiny little grains.
It does.
So couscous comes pre-cooked, but what about bulgur?
Bulgur is parboiled, which means it's partially cooked during processing, making it incredibly quick and easy to prepare.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Bulgur comes in different grinds,
Oh,
each lending itself to different culinary uses.
interesting.
So fine bulgur, for example, is the star ingredient in tabbouleh, that vibrant salad with parsley, mint, and lemon. Its delicate texture just absorbs the flavors beautifully.
Okay.
Coarse bulgur, on the other hand, has a much chewier texture and makes a fantastic substitute for rice
Oh,
or a base for hearty grain bowls.
so you can have a light and refreshing salad or like a hearty, satisfying grain bowl.
Exactly.
Talk about versatility.
It really highlights the nuance and attention to detail that's so characteristic of Middle Eastern cuisine.
Now, I can't help but notice that Shirdell seems to be carrying a pretty wide variety of bulgur and couscous. Does that tie back into their focus on authenticity?
Absolutely. By offering different types of bulgur and highlighting couscous, Shirdell is providing a glimpse into the diversity and depth of Middle Eastern culinary traditions.
I'm realizing that there's so much more to learn about these ingredients and the dishes they can create. It's not just about the food itself, but about the stories, the history, and the cultural significance behind each bite.
You're getting it. Exploring a new cuisine is like opening a window into a different world. It's a chance to connect with traditions that have been passed down through generations, and to really appreciate the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the cooks who've perfected these techniques over centuries.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling inspired to dive deeper. But before we get too lost in recipes and cooking techniques, let's come back to Shirdell for a moment. We've talked about their commitment to quality and authenticity, but what about their prices and delivery options? Are they actually accessible to the average home cook?
Well, from the information you've shared, it seems like their prices are quite competitive,
Okay.
which is great news for anyone wanting to experiment with these
Yeah.
ingredients.
Yeah.
And they offer nationwide delivery across Sweden, so accessibility shouldn't be an issue.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at their website here, and it seems like they're focusing mainly on beans, lentils, bulgur, and couscous. What about spices? Those are a pretty integral part of Middle Eastern cuisine, right?
Oh, absolutely. Spices are essential, and it's interesting that they don't seem to really emphasize those.
Right.
Maybe they're encouraging people to, kind of break free from pre-made spice blends and create their own unique combinations.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Kind of like becoming your own spice alchemist. What are some of the spices that we should be thinking about when we're cooking Middle Eastern food?
Oh, there's a whole symphony of flavors to explore. Cumin, coriander, and turmeric are like the foundation.
Okay.
They bring warmth and depth to so many dishes. Then you've got the bright citrusy notes of sumac,
Mm-hmm.
the earthy richness of cinnamon, and the floral complexity of saffron.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about herbs like parsley, mint, and dill, which add freshness and vibrancy to everything from salads to stews.
It sounds like there's a lot of room for creativity and personal preference when it comes to spices. I'm picturing like my spice rack with all these beautiful colors and aromas.
Yeah,
It's like painting with flavor.
that's a great way to think about it. And it highlights another important aspect of Middle Eastern cuisine, that balance between sweet, sour, savory, and spicy. Think about a dish like muhammara. It's a Syrian dip made with roasted red peppers, walnuts, pomegranate molasses, and Aleppo pepper. You've got the sweetness of the peppers, the nutty richness of the walnuts, the tangy punch of the pomegranate molasses, and the subtle heat of the Aleppo pepper.
Oh, wow, that sounds amazing. And this is making me realize that there's kind of a misconception that Middle Eastern food is all very heavy and meat-centric.
Right.
But it sounds like there's actually a lot of emphasis on fresh, vibrant flavors and a real balance of ingredients.
Absolutely. Vegetarian and vegan dishes are a huge part of Middle Eastern culinary traditions.
Yeah.
Think about all the delicious salads, dips, and vegetable stews that really showcase the incredible variety of produce in the region.
Okay. You've officially convinced me that Middle Eastern cuisine is much more diverse and nuanced than I initially thought. And with Shirdell making it easier to access those key ingredients, I'm ready to start experimenting in the kitchen. But before I get too carried away, is there anything else we should know about Shirdell? Their website mentioned something about a focus on sustainability and ethical sourcing.
Yeah, that's a great point. More and more people are interested in where their food comes from and the impact it has on the environment and local communities.
For sure.
And it seems like Shirdell is really committed to sourcing their ingredients responsibly,
Okay.
which is definitely something to consider when you're choosing where to shop.
It's always great to see companies prioritize sustainability and ethical practices. It makes the food taste even better, knowing that it's been produced with care and respect for the planet and the people who grew it.
Exactly. Adds a whole other dimension to the culinary experience.
For sure. So are you feeling inspired to start cooking?
I am. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. But with so many possibilities, I'm not even sure where to begin. What are some classic dishes that really showcase the ingredients that we've been talking about?
Well, if you're looking for a hearty and satisfying meal, you can't go wrong with a classic lentil soup.
Oh, yeah.
It's a staple in so many Middle Eastern countries, and each region has its own unique twist on the recipe.
Right.
You can keep it really simple, just lentils, onions, spices,
Yeah.
or you can add vegetables like carrots, celery, potatoes for extra flavor and texture.
Lentil soup is definitely a comfort food classic.
It is.
What about something a little lighter and brighter?
Tabbouleh is a must-try.
Okay.
That refreshing salad with bulgur, parsley, mint, tomatoes, and a lemony dressing is just a burst of fresh flavors.
Ooh, yeah.
Perfect for a light lunch or a side dish.
Okay, I'm adding tabbouleh to the list.
Mm-hmm.
What about something that showcases those beautiful spices we were talking about earlier?
How about a tagine? It's a slow-cooked stew that's traditionally prepared in this conical earthenware pot. You can use lamb, chicken, or even just vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And the combination of spices like cumin, coriander, ginger, and saffron creates a truly aromatic and flavorful dish.
I love tagines. The slow cooking method allows the flavors to really meld and develop. It's like culinary alchemy.
Exactly. And for something a little sweeter, you could try making baklava.
Oh, yeah.
Those delicate layers of phyllo pastry filled with nuts and drenched in honey syrup are a true indulgence.
Baklava is a classic for a reason. It's like the perfect combination of textures and flavors.
It is.
Okay, I'm officially feeling overwhelmed with delicious possibilities here.
Good.
I need to start planning my Middle Eastern feast.
I'm happy to hear that. And remember, cooking should be a fun and creative process. Don't be afraid to experiment with different flavors and techniques.
That's great advice. And I'm realizing that exploring a new cuisine is about so much more than just following recipes. It's about embracing a new culture, experimenting with new ingredients, and discovering new flavors that expand our culinary horizons.
Absolutely. It's a journey of discovery, and each dish is a story waiting to be told.
Well, I think we've uncovered some amazing insights today. From the history and cultural significance of key ingredients to the art of spice blending, we've barely scratched the surface of Middle Eastern cuisine.
And thanks to resources like Shirdell, it's easier than ever to access these incredible ingredients and bring those flavors into our own kitchens.
I'm feeling incredibly inspired to embark on my own Middle Eastern culinary adventure.
Well,
I can't wait to try some of these dishes and share them with friends and family.
wonderful.
But before we wrap up, one final question. We've talked a lot about the ingredients in the dishes, but what about the cultural context? Are there any customs or traditions surrounding food in the Middle East that we should be aware of?
Oh, that's a great question. Food plays such a central role in Middle Eastern culture, and there are definitely some beautiful traditions worth noting.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about those.
One of the most important things to understand is the concept of hospitality.
Okay.
In many Middle Eastern cultures, offering food and drink is a sign of welcome and respect. It's actually considered rude to refuse, even if you're not hungry.
So when I'm presented with a plate of delicious food, I should just always accept, even if I'm stuffed.
Exactly. It's more about the gesture than the actual amount you consume. Just taking a small portion and expressing your gratitude is a way of honoring the host's generosity.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful tradition. It makes sharing a meal even more meaningful. Anything else?
Another interesting custom is the use of bread as a utensil. In some countries, it's common to use flatbreads like pita or lavash to scoop up food instead of using forks or spoons.
Interesting.
It's a very tactile and communal way of eating.
I love that. It's like everyone's sharing from the same plate, and it creates a sense of togetherness.
Exactly. And speaking of togetherness, meals are often a very social affair in Middle Eastern cultures. Families and friends gather to share food, stories, and laughter. It's really a time for connection and celebration.
It sounds like food is more than just sustenance in the Middle East. It's a way of life. It's a way of connecting with loved ones and a way of honoring tradition.
You got it. It's a very holistic approach to food that nourishes both body and soul.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. From the history and cultural significance of ingredients to the art of spice blending and the beautiful traditions surrounding food, we've gained a much deeper appreciation for the richness and diversity of Middle Eastern cuisine.
We have. And thanks to resources like Shirdell, we can all bring a taste of that richness into our own kitchens.
I'm feeling incredibly inspired to embark on my own culinary adventure. Can't wait to try some of these dishes and share them with friends and family.
That's great. I hope you do.
All right, well, that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Big thank you to our expert for joining us and sharing these fascinating insights. We'll see you next time.